Hi ASEAN, and welcome to hashtag GetRails 3.0 Navigating Your Career session. My name is Vikram Cardozo, and I lead human resources for GE in the ASEAN region. And as you know, we're on a journey to becoming a digital industrial company. And really the piece we're focusing on more lately is about the digital side. And so we have a couple of leaders here with us today to share their thoughts about, one, their careers, two, their approach towards digital, and the path ahead. So with that, let's spend some time talking to KYRA and Gabe, and then we'll add a couple more leaders later on when we have the live session and talk to you with them live later in the month. So hello ASEAN, and welcome to hashtag GetRail 3.0's Career Navigation session. As you know, we're on our journey to becoming a really strong digital industrial company, and during the course of this journey, we thought we would have a conversation with a couple of our employees to find out how they are making changes in their lives, their skill sets, their capabilities, and navigating their career to adjust to this change. And so we have with us KYRA, who's in human resources, and we have Gabe, who's the Chief Marketing Officer for the ASEAN region. And we're going to ask them a few questions on how they've been kind of working this. So welcome, and thanks for taking the time to join us. Good. So maybe you guys could just start off by giving a brief introduction of yourselves, and sharing with everyone over here a little bit about your careers.
So, okay, I go first?
You go first.
I'm KYRA. So I joined GE through the Alstom integration. Career-wise, I've been fortunate. So I started my career with Procter & Gamble. So I do my internship in Procter & Gamble. Then I have about 3 years with Sony in Malaysia. After Sony, I moved to Alstom, doing a kind of EHRM role for about 2.5 years. And I got the opportunity to move to Switzerland to do a global role. Over there, I do about 3 years as well. Then I go back to the region in Singapore doing a corporate role, so different function, different country. After 3 years over there, then I decided to come back to Malaysia and doing a regional BP role. And now with GE, I'm currently the HR BP for GPS Asia. So
nice.
That's in short.
So a good mix of different parts of the function, different companies,
yeah,
and different geographies.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
nice.
Thank you.
Nice. Thank you, KYRA. Gabe, what about you?
It's been very interesting to hear about your career. For me, my career has been a little bit different. I'm a bit of a career switcher. So I started on my professional journey as a mechanical engineer. So I used to work for a government think tank for about 4 years. Went to renewables. Then I went to the utility side, and then I went to business school, and then joined GE through the ECLP program, and then switched over to more of the marketing and strategy side of the house. Ever since then, with ECLP, I've done multiple roles in multiple businesses in what was the old energy business. Came over to Singapore to do regional marketing.
As part of ECLP?
As part of ECLP.
Mm-hmm.
Then went back to the US into oil and gas in Houston. And I was there for a couple of years until when I wrapped up the ECLP program, they put me in another program. So I took a lot of training with Emerge. And there I was doing, started the digital journey for GE Oil and Gas as what we should be doing for production optimization and software. So I've been doing that for a couple of years. And now I'm back here in Asia. So as the Chief Marketing Officer. So it's been very fun.
Outstanding. What I see with both of you is you'll both have different industries, you'll both have different geographies, and you'll have kind of shifted around doing different things within the same framework, but interesting. So I guess the question I'd ask you is, so what have been kind of the pillars of, as you've been navigating your careers, what are some of the principles or things you've kept in mind? What's been, that's been driving this successful career for you guys? So maybe Gabe, you start off, and then we'll go to KYRA next.
Sure. For me, I think it's the natural curiosity of a new space is naturally intriguing to me. So that's always exciting. Be flexible in any kind of jobs, right? Because things change. right? So whenever you get a problem that seems too big, just take it on, right? Break it up into little pieces, you get through it. And the other element is really ask a lot of questions, right? There are people that are going to help you out, right? There's people within the company, your customers, and just being curious and asking for help will really get you a long way to help you understand the problem and solving whatever you're trying to do.
Okay. So be flexible and ask a lot of questions.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Great. How about you, KYRA?
I totally agree with Gab. And on top of it, I think you need to keep an open mind. You need to start to listen more, because when you move from one role to another, you cannot have a set of judgment on your mind. You need to start to listen and try to adapt yourself, and then started to contribute. So you need to give your individual expectation as well. So listening is one, and managing your own expectation, because sometimes you need to understand yourself in order to manage the situation.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So managing your expectations and listening.
Yes.
And being open-minded.
Correct.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Now tell me, honestly, was this easy or difficult?
I think it can be a little difficult. I mean, anytime you kind of change something, it's always difficult, right? You have to learn new industries, new geography, new people, understand what's been done. But I think it's also exciting, right? And that's kind of drives you to like want to do it, and then where you want to go. And the only way to be successful is if you are excited about doing what you do. So.
Okay.
True. If you to say it's easy is lying, but the fact is, if you know what you want, if you see challenge is something that you really, really want, this is the way to go. Because after 3 years, then you start to say that, okay, I want to try something new. I want to challenge myself, or the word now, I want to disrupt myself, and this is how you progress. So I think, yeah, it's not easy, but it's not impossible. Yet, if you like challenge, this is how you should go about.
So let's kind of shift gears a little bit and talk about the digital side of things, right?
Sure.
As we transform ourselves from being an industrial financial company, so to speak, to a digital industrial company. 2 questions. One is, what do you think are some of the skills that we should keep in mind to try and build as we go on this journey? And number 2, how have you guys gone along the way getting yourselves prepared for this? So maybe, Gabe, you want to start, and
Sure.
then we can go to you, Carol.
Sure. I think I'll start by thinking about what is the mindset we need from a digital industrial company perspective, right? When I think about digital, I mean, for me, it was a bit of a challenge, starting from, my background's mechanical, so coding and things are not as easy for me. So the curiosity element definitely helps, right? If I don't understand something, I'm always going to ask someone, and they would gladly explain it to me over and over again. So that's been really helpful from a tool set perspective. But from a mindset of a company perspective, is we really have to think about what the customers are trying to accomplish with it, right? So when we look at it and say, hey, look, this software thing is going to help you do A, B, C, and it's going to address those specific pain points, then customers get it, right? And that's the mindset that we need to bring, and just put ourselves in the customer's shoes for a couple of days and just think like, okay, this is how I can help you, and then you're going to set your path forward on how you execute.
Okay, grand.
Similar thing, that first we need to start with the question, what does digital mean? So what I have done is to speak with the business, try to understand, what do you guys think about digital? So the answer that they get and what I gather is always separated 2 things. One is the product itself. So what do we have in terms of digital? Then I learned from the GPS side, we have what we call as the virtual power plant, which is supported by Predix.
Right.
So I think this is important for people to know, because when they know, whenever they meet with the customer, they say, guys, we have this is going to change the game, and those kind of thing. The second part, I would say, which is more important, is the mindset, digital mindset. And on this part, I like the way that when we learn in fast work, that you need to be disruptive. Like what you said, Vikram, during the course, saying that it's either you disrupt yourself or someone else is going to disrupt you, and it's better for you to disrupt yourself. And this part we learn now, for example, from the HR side. what job that is relevant today might not be relevant tomorrow. So we from the HR need to start thinking, how does digital going to change the workforce, and how can we be upfront in disrupting ourselves so we can prepare when it comes. So to give you an exact answer, I can't give that, but we need to start to think about that line.
Grant, so if you were to give advice to people who are getting into this journey today, people have come from very traditional, like you said, a mechanical background or a different environment. How would you tell them, guys, digital is coming? What advice would you share with each one of us as we get ready for this journey? Because a lot of us are stuck in this industrial mindset or doing our day-to-day work, and digital is another fad that's going to come and go. You know, we had the .com thing around the turn of the century, and you know, it came, and sure, the internet has changed our world quite a bit, but you know, that's still an arm's length away. It's a tool today to my work. But in tomorrow's world, if you're not with it, you're not in it.
Yeah.
Right? So what advice would you give people like me, all of us, and say, and the rest of us over here, all our employees, how can we better be prepared, and what should we be doing a little bit differently? Any advice?
I think the word that I can gather now is curiosity. So we need to start to talk about it. I think a lot of time we just, okay, what is digital and this kind of thing. So curiosity, start with that, then ask more questions, then do a lot of learning. It can be online, it can be by books. A good example like Airbnb, a good example of Uber, how people disrupt and make things was not relevant before relevant now, and try to do something different for yourself. So I think taking the risk to feel curiosity, ask questions, and taking the risk to do something different and feel and learn. Yeah, that's for me.
You stole my point. But there's a lot of resources, right, to get up to speed on where we're going. We got the Industrial Internet 101 training that we have, which I think is actually really good to help people get up to speed on where we are.
This is online?
This is on our online learning system, My Learning portal. So you can dive as deep as you want into that. The other thing I think is really helpful is if you're in a P&L, get access to the demo sites of the products that you have. Just play with it, right? Understand what it's trying to do, and then only then it can convey so much more than a product brochure or anything like that. And if you're really excited about it, you can get access to predicts and write your own code, but most people probably won't do that. But the other avenue that we have is if you have really good ideas on things you want to do, you can submit them to San Ramon. They have these hackathons, they call them. So it's like basically a coding event every few months. And you can work with the team in San Ramon, and they can, if your idea is really good, they'll build your app with you, right? And that's part of the thing. So there are many ways to get involved, and as we get our foundries up and running in ASEAN, those hackathons will be much easier for us to do as well
within the region.
But yeah, so there's tons of opportunities to do that.
As you kind of look at this, KYRA, and I'm kind of shifting gears a little bit. As you look at this, you talked about from a people perspective. We collect pieces of information and data from various systems and tools. How do you think the world around us is changing? I mean, I look at it as a couple of things, right? The workforce in itself is probably going to become more contingent in nature than full time.
Yep.
The second thing is you have an aging workforce, and aging in a good way, which causes other issues. But people on an average are going to start to live closer to 100 rather than live towards 70. So now they'll probably come into the workforce, step out of the workforce, come into the workforce, step out of the workforce. Sabbaticals will probably become a little bit more the norm rather than the exception.
Yeah.
People will go and decide to backpack around Nepal for about a year in between. So the workforce will start to change. Now, how do you think that's going to change the world we live in from a people perspective? Because technology is one piece of it, but then we need people to run the technology, and so that changes the game. So what do you see, things working differently for us from a people perspective as a company? Any thoughts?
I think one great example is the PD. I think throughout my career and my studies, we always talk about performance management system, and we believe that it's going to be there forever. But with PD, you have changed the game. You make it more frequent and make it more instant, and give more insights and more 360. And this is how the things that change from the people side of it, and how we in HR are changing towards it. The other new thing that we could see is the XLP program, the leadership program that recently GE started, in anticipating that how can the leaders be more digital, and it can, and mainly from the mindset perspective. So I can see that is changing, but how the people going to change? It's I think we need to start thinking the unexpected, because that is where how the company could change. So I think I cannot have the answer of what it's going to be, but we need to start thinking that people will live longer, people will move job more, they want more challenge, people are more smart in terms of information. So and we need to be ready for that.
Okay, it's like you said, disrupt or be disrupted.
Yes.
Disrupt yourself, self-disrupt, or you'll be disrupted. Right? So, guys, going back to your careers, just kind of stepping back again into what I'd call the mothership. Well, what, if you look at it, any advice would you have in terms of navigating your own careers, from keeping in mind the future going ahead? The disruption is going to be there a lot more. 2 words or 3 words, keeping in mind things like our culture as a company, keeping in mind our beliefs, keeping in mind we want to be a global digital, company, if you will, simple global digital. So if you keep that in mind, what kind of couple of words would you tell people to keep in mind as they advise to them as they grow navigate their careers?
Maybe I start first.
Sure.
The first thing is you need to know what you want in your career. A lot of people try to just go along with it, which is, for me, is not right or not supposed to be. You need to know what you want, not in terms of position anymore, in terms of challenge. Because nowadays you can see people with the horizontal organization, we are more flatter and more wider. We need to focus on, in your career, these 2 years I want to focus on this challenge. Next 2 years I want to focus this challenge. So you need to ask yourself and try to get as much of information from the coach around you. That's one. And the second one is in terms of believing in yourself. And I think you need to start in mind saying that nothing is impossible, and you can deliver a result in uncertain world. So that need to start with certain self-confidence. So I think that's the two pieces from my side.
Grant? Okay.
I think to echo the earlier point of be curious. I think that's going to help you drive and understand where you want to go next. And I think the other part is, I think you brought up a very good point. We're going to continually change our lifestyle, right? So we're always going to have to continually learn new things. Especially in something like GE, you have to learn new business, new sectors as we change. So this continuous education part is going to be very, very important. So whether it's self-motivated or official, I think you just have to push forward with that.
Good. Look, I think I've learned a lot. So thank you very much, because I think it's just it's a reminder of things like, be curious, ask questions. I have an 8-year-old daughter, and she asks questions about every little thing, right? and so it keeps me on my toes. I'm relearning. So I think it's great. Be curious, be open-minded. I think listen, as you rightly said, adapt, adjust, ask, and make sure you keep asking questions and then listen. That's the important piece. And have an open mind, even from a career perspective. Know where you want to go generically. Know what that challenge is going to be, and then work towards it. But also look at your career and look at your industry and look at what you work like a Rubik's Cube. It's going to keep turning. It's going to keep changing.
Correct.
And as it does, we've got to make sure that whatever colors come in front of us, we're able to do, make the most of it and work and adjust to it so that we can make a playing field that we can play best in,
Yes.
versus our competitors and for our customers. So thank you very much. Enlightening session, really appreciate it. And all the best to you, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Vikram.